Hi, in this video I will be showing you the new features introduced in EasyVertex Anim version 1.1, and those features focus on creating vertex animations for more complex meshes. So to illustrate and show all this, we will be animating this tree from scratch. EasyVertex Anim is a graphical editor that allows to create and modify Pivot Painter 2 vertex animations directly in Unreal Editor without using any other software. So we will take this tree, which comes from Unreal content examples, the example of Pivot Painter 2, and we'll drop all the animation data and UVs, and we will recreate that from scratch. We will start by looking how the animation of the original tree is made. And for this, we will open it in EasyVertex Anim. We'll ignore this warning. And then EasyVertex Anim says that it recognizes that UV channel 1 is a Pivot Painter UV. So we will use it directly. Now we see this tree in the plugin. It has a huge number of parts, 40,000 and some more. So all those pivots, what you are seeing here, slow things down. We will first thing hide those pivots. So you can see the tree now, and it's very complex. So first thing we will say that we use the foliage anim effect. This one is our anim effect, not the Unreal standard Pivot Painter 2 foliage anim effect shader, but it has exactly the same parameters and it generates exactly the same data, so they're compatible. And we did this so we can use the data texture that come with this tree that stores the pivots data, which are just here. And now we can just put them in the corresponding slots. And you can see something appeared. So that how this tree is made, it stores not only the pivots, but also the extents. As you can see here, this red line is the extent that tells the shader the length of the part, and it stores also the parent data. So here I use Ctrl H to isolate the parts. That's a new feature. H to show everything again. Here I will check the structure of this tree, the hierarchy. So I will use another new feature, is the select operation, and we can select children of the trunk. And if I select just this, you see that's the branches. I can undo it and then select again, but keeping the previous selection too. And then isolate select, and then you see that's the base of the tree, that's the trunk and the branches. And for each trunk you can see their extent here, that you can see this blue dashed line, that's the parent. Let's now see how the rest of the tree is done. If I go into view UV mode, that's a new mode that shows the UV of the tree. You can see that's the UV of this tree, and all those are the branches and the trunk, which we can hide, and the rest is the little branches and the leaves. You can isolate only the leaves, for example. and those red lines are extents, which I will hide here, and show skeleton shows and hides the parents. That's also the two new checkboxes. And so for the hierarchy of the tree, it goes like this. We can start with a leaf, and then in the selection operation we can select the parents and add to selection. So we will run, it will select the branch and the big branch, then the trunk. So if I select that again, you can see that we have the trunk to which we have the big branches attached, which we have small branches attached, and to which we have leaves attached. So that's the 4 levels of Pivot Painter 2. And we also can see here that those branches here, they're made in 3 parts. So there's the main body of the branch and 2 little chunks. And we can also see that the big branches, they also have a little cap here attached. So if I go here, I press T and I hover here, you can see this is this cap modeled separately. So we will remember all this information to recreate the same structure for our tree. That is the remake of this one. So here it's our tree. As you can see, there's no animation. So I removed the UV channel and the textures and everything. It's just a normal static mesh model. One thing I did is to modify the master material. So I copied all the materials here, and in the master materials I removed the Pivot Painter Foliage Shader node and replaced it by Material Attribute Layer node. And everything about this I already explained it in the previous tutorials, so I encourage you to check this. How do you need to configure materials to work with EasyVertex Anim. Now I can open this tree with the plugin, and it will complain that we need an UV channel to store the pivot information. Okay, so first thing, we will select this UV channel 1, create a new channel. Again, all this is not new. I was explaining it in detail in previous tutorials, but I just show everything here. So now we have our tree. As you can see, it's just one big part or one big poly group, and we need to split it in parts. Well, first of all, we will here specify our anim effect foliage. That's the anim effect that comes with the plugin. And then if we open it, just actually a data table, and there is a new parameter here that appears in this version, and is the max extent 2047. So that's the, if you want the maximum length a part of our tree can have, and that comes from the original Pivot Painter material. So you need this because the extent is, as you know if you watched previous videos, is encoded in a texture, in a 8-bit texture. So you only can encode numbers between 0 and 255. So here we put this number here, saying that is our max extent, and it also reflected in the user interface. Here you can see it again. And then if you edit the extent here, just to show you how it works. Here we have our extent editor. You can see it will increment by increments of 8 because we only have 255 values. So all this stuff is reflected and handled correctly. But that's not what we need to do right now. Right now we will split our tree in parts. So we will go into operations and choose split mesh operations. And here there's also a new thing. We will split it by UV shells because that's the method that it works better with this tree. I will run the operation. It will say basically that there is no undo. Most operations have an undo, but this one no. But the only operation. And here we have it, our huge tree with 40,700 something parts. And first thing first, we will remove the drawing of this because it's slow. Now you see those textures also are updated. Those textures are actually where this data is stored. And so far so good. Now, as you can see, our pivots are in the middle of each part, but that's not good. I have to move them somewhere. So of course, if we had to move everything here by hand, we will never end, and we will use operation and UV space. That's something new again. So we directly open our UV viewer, and we will look in different parts. So we can see here we have all those branches and the trunk. Let's isolate them. And you can see if I hover here, you can see that there is a little circle that appears. And you can see this circle on the other part, the green circle here. You can see it. Or alternatively, you can go here, hold the T, and you can see the same, that it will jump between parts. So this is a new feature we will use a little bit that allows you to actually just snap the pivot in the UV space in here, but we will see that later. So what interests us now is that all those parts, all those UVs are oriented vertically and from the root to the tip. You see, every time it starts here and ends on the top. And we will use this information to move our pivots. So I show them, and then here I will go into snap pivot operation, and I will directly choose the UV space, and then the pivot will go to the bottom of the UV space. Run. And then you can see that all those pivots went in the bottom of the branches of the trunk. And then I will snap and aim the pivot, snap the extent and aim to the top of UV space, so to this part or to the tip of every branch. Run, and you can see, you can show them. We have already our pivots placed like they should and oriented like they should, and we have calculated the extent too. Good. Now if we look at this branch, we can see the pivot went like this inside, and because the branch looks like this. It goes inside the trunk. I will show you another new feature. It's the manual pivot snapping. So if I select this branch and then I hold T key, you see the pivot appears, and then I click, left click here, you see the pivot went automatically attached to here. And there is the same feature with the extend. If I hold the U key and I click here, you see the extend went where I click. And that's the manual if you want snapping. And I can also do this in this window. So T moves the pivot and U plus click moves the extend. So now, if you remember, we also had those little caps. If I hide this, those things, we will now change those. So here we will use manual method, like I've just shown before, and just put them. Those are those little caps. I will put their pivot by hand. So first I select them, and then I hold T, and for example I click here, 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 and we have two more, I think 3 more, and I click here, here, here. And for the extent, I just click in the middle of everybody. That corresponds to the tip. So I hold U and I click here, and all the selected things that receives the click will be edited. So now my little tips are all correctly, you can see here, correctly placed and oriented. Next part is the little branches and the leaves. We'll hide this and this. So here, as we can see, all the leaves are oriented vertically from bottom to top. So we can again use the operation in UV space and orient to the top. Okay. Now if we check this leaf, you can see the pivot comes from here and the extent goes to the tip. Oh, that's correct. And now those branches. So we have the branch, this one, and then we have two small parts which actually are attached to it. And there is this small part and the other small part, and you can see how they're attached. So here we will select everything, and we can also use the operation from left to right from those and from bottom to top for those, but you can also just go and do it by hand using T and U. And same here, T and U. So I hold the T and I left click, and then I hold U and I left click. And now if we choose one of those, you can see it works. This one, press F to focus on the selection, it works, and on one of those it works too. So if I'm not mistaken, we created the pivots for all the parts. Next step would be to merge some parts and to parent everything. Before we start to merging and to parenting, we will just save the intermediary result by clicking accept, so we don't lose it. Then you can see we have now the data textures and material instances created here, and apply it to the tree. And you can see the tree is already moving a little bit, but the animation is not correct because the parts are not yet not parented. So we will continue from the point we left. Open it again, there is no more questions asked, and we again hide everything like this. Now first thing we will do is to parent some parts to each other. First of all, we parent big branches to the trunk. We isolate them, then we select the trunk, and we select the operation parent, and here there is a new operation called connect. So it will attach the unselected parts to the selected ones, and it will use the distance from the pivot to the selected part to find this parent. Anyway, it's explained also here in the help. So I select the part I want to be the parent, the trunk, and then here I select a little bit more distance because they are big, and I connect, run. Now it selected all those branches, and we can also check that it works if we go here and we select show skeleton. It shows those blue lines. And another way to see it is to select the trunk, go to select operation, and select the children. Everything seems to work. Now we will continue. We attach the small caps to the big branches. For this, we first will hide all the small branches and the leaves. We go still in the select operation, and we select by material ID. So this tree has 3 materials, and the small branches and the leaves are here. So we will choose material ID 2, run. You see it selected the branches, small branches and the leaves. We hide them. What remains here is the big branches and the caps. The caps are those. Now I only selected the big branches, and I go again and I run the parent operation connect, little bit more distance, run. Okay, so now if I select, I see if I select this and then by children add to selection and I do run, it selected everything. To be sure, I hide. You see there is nothing. So we parented every little cap to the big branches. Now I parent those 2 small parts to the little branch, I hide the leaves. Then I select this one. Again, parent, connect, a little bit more distance, and run. And now if I hide those, you see all of them are gone. So that's worked. And the last part we need to parent is the leaves. So I go into select, material ID, choose those, and then I will choose all those parts because the leaves can attach to all of them. And I run the parent operation. Run. So as you could see, the parent operation works only on the visible parts, not hidden, and it only considers the parts as children that aren't parented already. And it's explained again in the help. Parent any unselected and parented visible groups to the closest selected group by distance from the selected group geometry to unselected group pivot. Every of those operations has this little help. To test the result, I will select the branch and then children and hide. And we can see that some leaves were left because probably they are too far from the parent. So I will again select those things, and then here in the parent operation I will go with maybe 10. And you see now everything is good. Let's verify it. Everything is parented. The last step of parenting that we have to do is to parent small branches to the big branches. So to be sure that we didn't left anything behind, we will go again into select and select all the roots, so all the pieces without parents. And if we select that, we can see all that remains is the little branches and the trunk. So we will hide the trunk, select all the branches, all the big branches, and then connect them with something large, because those small branches sometimes are not really near. And then as everything else is already parented, there is not a problem to misparent things, because only the small branches remains unparented in this selection and in this visibility. So we run it, and then now we can verify if our setup is finally done, our parenting. We go into select children, add to selection, we select the trunk, and if we run this operation some number of times, we should have all the tree inside. No. Now if I hide the selection, as you can see, nothing remains. So our tree is completely parented. But now the only thing that remains is to connect, to merge things. We need to merge those caps to the branch, and we need to merge those little parts to the small branch. So here in V space I have those parts, and we have the caps, and we have those other parts. We select them all in UV space, and then you can see they are selected here, and then we will use the operation merge selection, and there is a new method here to parent. So simply we will merge those selected things with their parent. So the caps will be merged with the big branches and those small parts with the small branches. And in case like those small parts, they have still leaves attached to them, these leaves will be automatically transferred to new parent. Run. So the V window closed because actually the structure of the UV changed, and in the future versions will be updated without closing. Now we can check how it works. So we can, for example, take this branch. Let's go into UV space. We can check this branch, and we see that it took also the small parts. We can choose this, and we can choose this, and like hide, and everything is hidden. And the same thing with those branches. If I take one big branch and hide everything else, you see that those caps here are now merged together. So if everything worked correctly, now we should have our 4 levels of parenting. And we again can check it here by selecting, and then run. So we have the trunk. One click is the big branches, one click is the small branches, and one click is the leaves. And now if I hide the tree, everything should be gone. Everything is gone. Perfect. So now we have our merging, parenting, everything. And the last final thing we need to do, and this is only because this tree is so big, it has so many parts, that it's better for the question of numerical precision, order those UVs. So the parts that are like near the root, near the trunk, they're in the beginning of the UV, and the parts that are the leaves are on the end, because the leaves don't need to be referenced by anything. So those big numbers will never be written as the parent ID, and that it's better for the big meshes for the reasons of precision. So we go here, and there's this operation, new one, UV order. So we have pivot order that I explained in the previous tutorials. That is the UV order. And if you check help, it says what I just said, order UV by hierarchy depths. Then we run it. This works on the whole tree always. And of course it closes the UV window because everything is changed. Now we can finally see our tree animated. We can see it directly here, and maybe double check that nothing is detached. It seems to work. So we accept our edits. And then here you have it, animated tree. You can make a forest from those. The last thing I would like to show is how to configure this wind. There is two things. First of all, there is material parameters. You can edit them here, or you can edit this material layer in the generated assets. And this is more or less exactly the same thing as Pivot Painter 2 material parameters. So if you don't know how they work, we already made a long video about it for our other plugin, SP3 to Pivot Painter importer. I will link that in the comment. And the other thing is the wind actor. So if we go into plugin content folder, and in the runtime you have wind actor. Here you have this blueprint. If you put that in your level, it will affect all those trees. So we can like change the direction of wind, and we also can change the wing strength. So I have something like this. And you can also attach a normal wind actor to this blueprint, to this actor. And in this case, this blueprint will recognize it, and it will affect the speed of the normal wind actor. So if you have like some chaos cloud or something, it will affect it too. So that's how you control the wind. But maybe in the future I will make another video. For this video it's already a little bit too much, but I will make another video to show this complex topic in a little bit more detail. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask.